Hey, what's up guys, it's Lee Weagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video, and today we're going to be talking about how to counter Symmetra, a hero that's changed a lot over the last few years, although a lot of the counters do remain the same, aside from a few new nuances we'll go over in this video. Bear in mind that this crazy buffed beam Symmetra is getting a slight nerf in the next patch, but I'll make sure these tips are going to carry on past that. I want to talk about how to counter her because even though she is very good on some maps at the minute, she is definitely being overused, and there are some great picks and positional decisions that you can make in order to counter her in a big way. So in this Temple of Anubis game, me and FREEDO were playing on DPS against our #1 fan. Now, our #1 fan went Symmetra on the first attack and absolutely rolled us. We were not prepared for this at all. But what we decided to do is go to what I would say are the most two direct counters to Symmetra at the minute, especially in terms of the DPS role. And throughout the rest of the game, we played a lot of Pharah and Junkrat. I did swap to Tracer a little bit, but you'll see on this first attack what Pharah can do to a Symmetra on the low ground, because what Sim wants you to do is walk into her damage and her spam. And what a lot of people do on this first point on Anubis is they like to go left, and a lot of the Symmetra players are going to know that. But what Pharah and Junkrat and Tracer do is they allow you to reposition around the Symmetra to avoid her damage. And with Pharah in particular on this point, is she can find the angles to stay away from the Symmetra and also destroy everything that she does. Any of the turrets are very easy to see and destroy, and of course Symmetra can't kill you, especially with the amount of Mei and Reaper being played at the minute. There's not necessarily going to be something to counter a Pharah on the other team. As soon as you get behind, the Symmetra isn't farming you, you are farming her. So don't walk into that choke, guys, it doesn't work. But I think a lot of this is old news. But what is new is that Symmetra is being played all the time on attack. So how do you defend against it? Well, the thing that I like about Junkrat and Pharah is that they do the same thing that Symmetra does in a choke, like here on Anubis. And the thing that they have that Symmetra doesn't is movement. So when the Symmetra is trying to come through the choke and you're dishing out a sweet bit of payback, the Symmetra doesn't really have any mobility to get around this. She does have the teleporter every 12 seconds, but that's nowhere near the movement options that Junkrat and Pharah have got. So you've turned that spam damage to your advantage, and she cannot walk into it. Another thing that I like about these two picks as well is that if an enemy Symmetra is trying to TP her team behind you, even though 190 damage from Symmetra a second is scary, well, Junkrat's is actually 250 if you get a left click and a mine on everyone that's coming through that point. And the thing that you have to remember about the TP is there's only so many places that they can teleport from at the start. So if you've got a Pharah and a Junkrat looking at them positions like we did in this Anubis game, well, they can't ever go anywhere. That's the most important thing, is not playing into what the Symmetra wants you to do. And there's more of them things now, whereas she always used to be this thing you couldn't counter when you're on attack and she's just standing in a choke. Well, now she has a lot more utility and other places that we need to try and figure out. Next up, we have the best tank counter to Symmetra, and in fact, one of the best tank counters to the current meta, and that is Winston. Now, I will refer here to the double barrier counter guide. That will be on screen if you want to go check that out now or after the video, and that will explain to you how Winston counters that in a big way, and Symmetra is also a big part of that as well. And the thing about Winston is, he doesn't really charge Sim because his barrier is so low. She doesn't maintain full charge forever. He can dive away and stay well out of her damage. And when he wants to fight her, his damage goes through shields and actually melts him quite quickly. She looks kind of pathetic if you pounce her at the right time. What we're going to do is take a quick look again at this Hollywood game that FREEDO has showed in a different video. When you play Winston, you have to know that it isn't your job to just dive into the enemy tanks. What you're going to want to do is take positioning away from the enemy team and then engage. It's almost like this two-tier attack now when you play Winston. Actually just diving something is rarely a good idea because you won't be able to get out in time and the enemy will have too much sustain to be able to kill them, whether it's immortality field or they'll just get rezzed if you do kill it, or Moira healing. So what you do is you'll see FREEDO at a Grandmaster's level. He's better than me, we all know that. He takes the high ground from the enemies first, and then he tries to retain his cooldown when he drops onto the enemy team, and he manages to kill off the Zen in the back line. He's then still got his dive on cooldown and his bubbles nearly back, and we're able to farm out this enemy team. Another thing, of course, that you'll see here is that our team composition is fully around trying to counter a Symmetra. None of these things do what Sim wants you to do, and Winston is the top tier meta tank pick to counter this because he avoids all the damage through the choke. You've just got to make sure you play him right and initiate when you've got to jump to get back out. Of course, if you can jump and land on one thing that's isolated, you can kill it quicker, but actually doing that is quite risky in the current Overwatch meta. So avoid that choke, guys, and shoot through the shields, and you're going to have a good time with Winston. So the last thing I want to talk about is the most important, and it's positioning. And it comes down to don't go through the choke or charge the sim that wants to be charged or wants you to go through the choke. Just like we didn't with our #1 fan, by the way. So we've got a what not to do versus the sim telly strat, and a what to do against the sim telly strat. The first one is here on Horizon, and this is one of the most popular points for the enemy to teleport to the team. By the way, if you have an Ana on your team, stand in the middle. As soon as they TP to point, you anti-nade the whole team and you just win. Free win, by the way. But what my team do here is the #1 worst thing you can do is they dive straight to point in order to preserve a precious tick. We've been through this a lot of times on the channel. Giving up a tick to win a fight is much more important than just going to the point and losing. And what this does is you play into the Symmetra, because what the strat is to take a Ryan and a Zarya and a Baptiste through. They have immortality field, bubbles, and a 75 cleaving massive German hammer smacking you in the face. Now you could maybe go toe to toe with this if you did have a Reinhardt of yourself, but you would have made a pretty poor decision taking Ryan Zarya on the high ground of Horizon. What you have to do is take the positioning like I do with Hanzo. Imagine if our Sigma and Zarya hadn't gone to point and died here. I got 2 picks shortly after. We could have easily carried out. We almost nearly did if I hadn't whiffed on the Moira, goddammit. But the thing is, if you stay up top there, Sigma can just shell down on the enemy team. We can have our teammates take angles around the point, and then it's much more again like we are attacking them. They are in the weakest position. But what they do when they go to point is they take positioning away from you, and people think that the best way to get it is to panic. You cannot do that. If you anti it and have a Ryan and you want to go swing in, then go for it. But you've got to make sure you get frags and surround it, just like in this Hanamura game, which was at Diamond, by the way. And why everyone in Diamond knew how to play this and they don't at GM, I just don't understand. But anyway, the enemy team wanted to keep teleporting behind us on the Hanamura choke. So what we did was we would take various different angles around it to try and get a pick before they managed to get to point. Now again, there is a strat here that allows them to TP to the point, but knowing what they're going to do or trying to predict it is the best part of countering Symmetra. And when we knew that they were trying to take this high ground away from us, we positioned to a point where they couldn't damage us, and then they had to retake again to the point into us. This allowed us to take all kinds of different angles, me on Hanzo, and create chaos for the enemies because they simply weren't allowed to set up. If you want to counter Sim, guys, you've just got to know what she wants to do. She either wants you to feed into the choke, or she wants to TP behind you to take positioning. Knowing them TP positions, going a hero like Junkrat or Farah to spam that TP, or anti-nading it with an Ana, you have to bear in mind, if you've got any big damage on the other end of that TP, they're going to have a bad time because it is going to hit everybody. Even someone like May, if they try and TP and you know where it is, you can freeze them, and Reinhardt can really mess it up on a map like Hanamura too. So let me know what you guys think to any of this stuff in the comment section down below. Don't you dare say to me, but you need communication for this and you don't get it at Plat. I'm telling you, you get more communication at Plat or Gold than you do at Masters. Masters, there is no one in comms. It's very frustrating because I'm hard-struck and can't get out. So let me know what you think, guys. Be sure to drop a like, as it does help us out and lets us know you're enjoying the content, and you're going to hit that bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Big shout out to our #1 fan, by the way, and have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people. Stayed on Symmetra against Junkrat and Farah.